Hey folks, Bob with Ancient Reproductions. I want to continue that video that I started just the other day that was talking about feeding frequent meals and the ability for that, frequent smaller meals, and the ability for that to, or larger meals, increase metabolism. And then how can you use that increased metabolism as a tool? I think you can use it as a tool for heavy animals, as potentially a healthy way to burn weight off of them. But everybody was concerned, oh, you can't do this, all year round. Okay, hey, and I was sort of assuming that, and sorry to create that confusion. I really do think that it's probably a small time frame strategy, but really I cycle everything that I have with temperature. So everything for me usually goes off feed, slows down on its own, etc. So I'm primarily talking about the food months. Or if you have an animal that you're really not temperature cycling, and that eats 12 months of the year pretty steadily, you can utilize it. So I think you can use it to potentially burn weight or add weight depending on what you want to do. But then folks had a concern about rest and then taking a break. And I think that's a very interesting subject. And thank you guys for bringing it up. So far, and let's keep talking, but so far my grasp on rest is that what I think of is how frankly inactive our snakes are in captivity, right? And recently I read where some of the berms that they were traveling or tracking in the Everglades, one berm had supposedly utilized a piece of land 4,000 acres. It seemed a little excessive, but then I've seen some other stuff. I even heard years ago with some colubrids listening to scientific presentations, paper presentations, and from researchers that, an individual could go 5 or 7 miles annually. And imagine how little activity our animals get, right? So I think a little bit of metabolic activity might not be a bad thing. I'm not so convinced that animals need rest, because I think in captivity, when some people think rest between meals, for instance, really in the wild, that animal is looking for another meal and maintaining its activity and keeping its metabolism up. So I'm not really sure. And also, and this is something I was taught years ago by veterinarians like Kevin Brackett and Elliot Jacobson, is that, their immunity does not work unless their metabolism is up into some sort of range, and usually more active than traditional, right? So that's something else as well. So the whole idea of rest, I think these animals that are I'm getting rained on, sorry, that are cooped up in small spaces compared to their wild versions that travel miles, I just really don't think that we're kind of like wearing on them or hurting them or not allowing rest if we just keep them metabolically active. And frankly, I wonder if they're healthier that way. So if you guys have thoughts, questions, anything you've seen compared at your place, please share. I'd love to hear it. I really appreciate the questions, the concerns. Again, it's what makes the show goes, and it's really quite interesting. Take care, you guys. Appreciate you. Bob.